Hello and welcome to today's webinar, Building Design Suite for Construction Teams. This webinar is brought to you by LiveLab Learning, which is a subsidiary of Academic Corp, a wholly owned applied software company created to provide world-class training. And this is Tiffany Bierken, and I'm delighted to be your moderator today. And throughout our presentation, we encourage you to interact with us by typing in questions and comments using the questions pane, and we will be answering questions at the end of the presentation. We will also be recording this webinar, and it will be available to you on our online on our YouTube channel, and we will also forward a link of the recording of this webinar to all attendees. And please take a note to look at our upcoming events. So we have the Future of Construction Technology Seminar in November, BIM and Beer in Denver, and BIM 360 Hangout webinar, which those will become a monthly occurrence. And also I would like to welcome today's speaker, Mark Petrucci. He will be leading us today. And Mark, I will hand it over to you.
All right, thank you, Tiffany. I had to get my mic turned on. All right, thank you, everyone. Today's webinar is on Building Design Suite for Construction Teams. And Tiffany, can you give me the thumbs up? You can hear me? Okay, great. All right, as Tiffany said, my name is Mark Petrucci, and I have a degree in civil engineering from Rochester Institute of Technology up in New York. I've worked 25 years in the AEC industry. The last 8 years I've worked with applied software, and about 2 years ago we started the Construction Technology Group. We decided that we knew that construction was going to be very popular as far as in the Autodesk world. Autodesk has been focused on design, and now that they have tools for us in construction, we thought we would focus as much of our attention on construction, but we still support a lot in the design world. Our goal for today's webinar is to show how Autodesk Building Design Suite can help construction teams enhance project delivery, expand capabilities, and help you stay ahead of the competition. So here's our agenda for today. First, we'll discuss, why BIM for construction. Then we'll look at some benefits of BIM for contractors. Then we'll look a little more deeper into what is BDS, or Building Design Suite. And some people get a little confused with BDS and BIM 360, so I want to focus or talk a little bit about the comparison between the two. Then we'll look at what I'm calling the BDS Top 5, and that's just my opinion. You may switch one or two of those around and we'll take a look. We'll talk about subscription near the end, and then any questions and answers. So why BIM for construction? Today, more than ever, we need to meet complex project requirements with the use of BIM. Construction's been becoming increasingly complex with tighter schedules and tighter budgets. By using Autodesk Building Information Modeling, or BIM, software on the site and in the office to help streamline workflows, we can maintain more accurate information and keep BIM construction projects moving forward with more predictability. Let's look at BIM benefits for contractors. This slide is from McGraw-Hill Construction 2013. Contractors were asked to list the top 3 benefits they experienced completing projects with building information modeling. The top project-related benefits that contractors are receiving from BIM are reduced errors and omissions and rework, both of which have an immediate and positive impact and contribute to a strong ROI. Reduced construction cost, reduced project duration, and improved safety round out the top 5 project benefits. Contractors cite BIM's ability to enhance collaboration among key team members as its most important contribution. Better cost control, better predictability, and reduced cycle time for workflows and approvals are also acknowledged as important process benefits of BIM. Here's another slide from McGraw-Hill Construction 2013. Contractors were asked to list the top 3 activities for which their organization leverages BIM during design and pre-construction. Contractors are finding numerous ways to apply BIM to projects prior to the start of construction. Autodesk Navisworks Manage can help with the top 4 activities: multi-trade coordination, visualization of the design intent, modeling for constructability evaluations, and determining quantities from the model. To kick it up a notch, Autodesk BIM 360 Glue can also be used with Navisworks Manage and really improve the coordination process. And this last slide that I want to show you, information that I found in the McGraw-Hill Construction 2013, contractors were asked to list the top 3 activities for which their organization leverages BIM during the construction phase. Interesting note that model-driven layout in the field is the highest, followed by model-driven prefabrication. Now, this slide was taken from an article written 2 years ago, which is about the same time we here at Applied Software started CTG. I would not have guessed layout to be that high in 2013, but today I believe this number is higher. To support that, my team and I have trained contractors in Autodesk point layout and robotic total stations 5 of the last 8 weeks. I can even thank Autodesk for sending me to Hawaii twice this past summer for APL and robotic total station training for 3 of their major accounts. So, what is Building Design Suite? BDS, or Building Design Suite, is a portfolio of interoperable 3D building design software. It supports building information modeling and CAD-based workflows for architects, MEP, structural engineers, and construction professionals. Now, Building Design Suite is a collection of software. While you can purchase individual licenses and combine them together, Suites provide you more software at a lower cost with a single license to manage. There are 3 different editions of BIM 360, Building Design Suite. There's Standard, Premium, and Ultimate. The Standard edition is ideal for drafters. With Standard Edition, you can design, document, and share drawings using a foundation set of CAD tools. Think of the Standard Edition as CAD BIM. You can still do BIM with these products, like using AutoCAD MEP, but you will not have access to the other modeling tools outside of AutoCAD. With the Premium Edition, this is ideal for architects and designers. You get all the features in Standard, plus powerful BIM tools like Revit and additional visualization tools. And finally, the Ultimate Edition is ideal for construction professionals. You get all the features in Premium and Standard, plus an advanced set of tools for 3D building design and construction. It is the only package that includes Navisworks Manage, the most popular clash detection tool used by contractors. So, as discussed in the previous slides, let's take a look at Building Design Suite and look at all the tools that are available. There are 11 different and powerful tools included with Building Design Suite Ultimate. We'll take a look at the 5 most used programs, in my opinion, included with Building Design Suite Ultimate. We'll take a look at Navisworks Manage, a tool used for many years by contractors. We'll take a look at Revit. We normally think of Revit as a design tool. However, many general contractors and subcontractors use Revit to create construction-level models or use as-is Revit models for field layout. We'll take a look at AutoCAD MEP. I don't want to forget about Revit MEP. Both programs allow you to create 3D models from which you can take design models to fabrication. At the very least, you can use the native Revit or CAD MEP, AutoCAD MEP model for clash detection and coordination. And AutoCAD. AutoCAD is still the standard drawing tool in the world. With AutoCAD, contractors can view, edit, markup, and even layout using 2D and 3D models in AutoCAD. And finally, recap. Many of you may have not noticed, but recap is included in all the building design suites, including standard. We'll talk about recap, and we'll look at recap ultimate for those of you who have a 3D laser scanner and want a way to automatically register or align your scans. So let's look at Navisworks Manage. With Navisworks Manage, we can track, manage, and better anticipate potential problems with clash detection and coordination tools that enable you to minimize project delays and communicate action steps to the project team more easily. Let's look at each of these benefits a little more closely. Model aggregation, or model file and data aggregation. For years, contractors have used Navisworks Manage to combine design and construction data into a single integrated model. I've lost count how many different file formats Navisworks can read. Not only can I read design files, I can also incorporate and view 3D laser scans or point clouds. When it comes to project file size, Navisworks integrates even the largest data sets into project models. And with Navis, I can read intelligent data from original design files and view it beside the model. We can also import live data from external databases and display it within the model. Photorealistic model rendering. While you can always use 3ds Max, which is included with Building Design Suite Ultimate, you can use Navisworks Manage to generate photorealistic model renderings to develop compelling 3D animations and imagery for project presentations. With this, you can customize and configure every render aspect, including materials, lighting, backgrounds, and rendering styles. You can use environmental backgrounds, so you can add real-world scenery around your model. And then you can choose more than 1,000 built-in materials to create a photorealistic look. And just to add a little more to the model, we can add photorealistic content, or RPC data, such as people and trees, to the scenes. Clash detection, what most people think of when they hear Navisworks Manage. The clash detection tool supports identification, management, and resolution of clashes. You can better anticipate and help reduce potential clashes and interference problems before construction, minimizing expensive delays and rework. With Navisworks Manage, I can perform clash detection tests against specific geometry to help find and resolve conflicts. If I have time towards the end of this webinar, I'll bring up Navisworks and I'll give you an example, live example of that. We can check as-built laser scan data against 3D designs. I can view clashes in context with geometry in the model and in relation to other clashes. And if I want to view my clashes, I can make all non-clashing items transparent to more easily locate them in the model. Then I can move between clashes that result in maintain orientation in the model. I can create hard, clearance, and duplicate clash tests to support multiple coordination scenarios. And I can even analyze the space and time by linking clash tests to simulation and other animation. Coordination and collaboration. Streamline collaboration. We can communicate design intent more clearly and encourage teamwork with help from the collaboration toolkit. I could add markups to viewpoints with advanced redlining tools. I can comment on viewpoints with searchable notes and include a date stamp or audit trail. I can record animated walkthroughs for real-time playback and export as AVI files. And I could even stream large models and content from a disk or from the internet, navigating the design as the model is loading. Project scheduling. I can simulate construction project scheduling to visualize and communicate project activities and minimize delays and sequencing problems. I can help confirm building or demolition viability by developing construction or demolition sequences that link model geometry to times and dates. I can import times, dates, costs, and other task data from project management software to dynamically link schedules with project models. Then I can set up a planned and actual times to visualize deviations from the project schedule. Quantification. New quantification enhancements include support for 2D PDF sheets, which allows for integrated model and sheet-based takeoff with the most common industry formats. Make material costing faster, easier, and more accurate with improved printing and markup tools. We can bring quantities from an aggregated model into a project. We can mine quantities from the model properties and create placeholders for items that are not in the model. In addition, I can tie quantification data to the model objects that without properties. This ability to go from virtually no detail to high-level detailed models and still allow more accurate quantity takeoffs. So I can do my manual takeoffs as I've done traditionally with 2D PDF sheets, or I can take advantage of the model takeoff and I can do automated takeoffs from an object parameters. I can do automated takeoffs from model objects, or I can do a virtual takeoff for non-modeled objects. Finally, I can push my Navisworks model to the cloud with a single click using BIM 360 Glue button. Now I wanted to mention this because BIM 360 Glue, I'm going to mention this a few times. This is not part of Building Design Suite. However, because my Building Design Suite software, I can integrate Autodesk Point Layout and BIM 360 Layout inside of Navisworks. So let's take a look at Revit now. So Revit software delivers building information modeling tools for architectural design, MEP engineering, structural engineering. It's done that for years, but it also works with construction, and it enables coordination between disciplines. So we'll see Revit features that help us understand means and methods and materials and how they come together. With site planning, I can convey building site planning concepts within the Revit. I can link to AutoCAD Civil 3D models, and I can take that AutoCAD Civil 3D file and generate a site plan. So now my building is referenced to the site. I can derive greater construction insight from design models. Again, I'm doing this all inside of Revit, not inside of Navisworks, but if it's in Revit, I can bring it into Navis, and I can analyze the model inside of either program. With material takeoff, I can calculate and track detailed material quantities. This is huge because with Revit, everything inside of Revit can be quantified. So as long as our models are accurately created, we can get accurate takeoffs. A feature that many people don't know about, but I can create exploded building design views right inside of Revit. And you'll see an example right down here where this building and the roof and the rooms inside have been pulled out, and as well as this view right up here. And again, just like in Navisworks, I can take my Revit model, I can push it to the cloud with a single click of the BIM 360 glue button, and now my model, my Revit model, is in the cloud and available to anybody else who has access to my project in the cloud. AutoCAD MEP. Okay. AutoCAD MEP software helps you draft, design, and document building systems. We create more accurate designs within a familiar AutoCAD-based environment. Increase productivity with automated drafting tasks, manufacturer's parts, and interference detection. We can go from AutoCAD MEP to fabrication CAD MEP to create fabrication models. With AutoCAD MEP, I can open, view, edit, and plot vanilla AutoCAD files and AutoCAD architecture drawings. I can use routing preferences for slope piping. And I can take my AutoCAD MEP design model and I can map it to fabrication CAD MEP to create a very accurate constructible model with all the components that are part of that system. And again, I can push my AutoCAD MEP model to the cloud with the click of the BIM 360 glue button. With AutoCAD, many of the things that I said in the previous example with AutoCAD MEP, I can do with AutoCAD, minus the MEP functionality. But we'll see here how intelligent tools in AutoCAD design and documentation software, they help speed your work and how CAD features add precision to your drawing. We can view designs more clearly with stunning visuals and document in context with the coordination model. I think we all know that DWG is the industry standard. We can receive files from designers and engineers, and we can quickly view them, as well as other formats like DXF and even MicroStation. We could even open up drawings created with AutoCAD MEP, AutoCAD Civil 3D, and even Fabrication CAD MEP with the correct object enablers installed. Finally, with APL, I can place points on any object, such as lines, arcs, and circles, and I can use AutoCAD to organize my points by layers and description and roles. And while not as advanced as AutoCAD MEP, I can still insert hangers using Autodesk Point Layout, and I can begin laying out my ductwork, my pipe hangers, in just a matter of minutes. Let's take a look at Recap. So Recap, or reality capture, and 3D scanning software. We can capture and integrate reality data directly to our design process with Recap and Recap 360. Recap and Recap 360 work with Autodesk Design and Creation Suites. So you can start your design, your renovation, or your retrofit work with accurate 3D scanning data and full photo quality context. We can view images and videos of the features in Recap Point Cloud, and we can look at services that improve the reality computing process to help speed up our workflow. With Recap 360 Ultimate, we can combine 3D laser scanning with automatic registration and easily plan, measure, and visualize with advanced measurement. And we can even share and collaborate with markups and tagging and search and sync. Here are some examples of some scans that were brought into Recap. First, they were brought into Recap, and Recap recognizes many different scanning formats. Once brought to Recap, I can then save or export my point cloud to a Recap file format that I can then bring directly into AutoCAD, Revit, or Navisworks. We'll What's really nice about that file format is it is smaller than the original point cloud with all the detail that you need to be able to view the point cloud. Once my point cloud is brought into CAD or Revit, I can literally trace over the point cloud to create my as-built model. If I go so far and scan in MEP, ductwork, or structural, some third-party software, I can have it automatically create ductwork and piping for me. And I think I mentioned this with Recap 360 Ultimate. This is a full-featured tier of the Recap product line. We can capture and integrate reality data directly into our design process. And the registration says if I take 10 scans of a particular building and I bring them into Recap 360 Ultimate, it will align the scans for me. And once aligned, I can then export that out as a single file format, a recap file format, that I can then bring into AutoCAD, Revit, or Navisworks. So let's take a look at some of this software in action. This is Recap. I'll go ahead and maximize my screen. Just want to you can see everything on there. Thank you. Okay. With Recap, this is actual model. This is a sample model that was provided. This model scan data, I can actually take this and I can export it out to another file format. And I just close it while we wait for this to open. I can export this out to a RCS file, and that file format is a much more efficient file format for Revit and AutoCAD to use. I'm going to zoom back out and just show you how quickly I can edit this model, or at least clean this up. This model is fairly clean, but it's not uncommon that when we get a point cloud, we will have a number of points floating out here in space. Some people call it noise, but those points could actually be walls outside the building if maybe there's an open door, an open window. So I don't want to bring in all those extra points into my Revit or CAD model. So what I can do is I can create a limit box. Now, one of the things that you'll notice here, which I'm not a big fan of, but this perspective view is a little hard for me to work with. So I'm going to go ahead and change this from a perspective view to an orthographic view. It's a little bit easier to work with. Now when I turn on my limit box, here's my limit box. Now if I zoom from the top, looks like my box is aligned properly, but that's not always the case. Sometimes your box is at an angle like this, and if I start pulling this in towards my model, it's actually going through my model or my scan diagonally. So instead what I'd like to do is rotate this, and I'll just simply hover over a corner, get this aligned best I can, and then I can start pulling in the sides of my point cloud. And I'll spin this around. It's not uncommon that we just have too many points. And so, for example, I don't need all these points that are floating up here. There was an opening in the ceiling. So I'll just go ahead and click on this and I'll pull it down until I get rid of those points. If I go down further, we can actually see inside of our point cloud. But I want to go ahead and bring in the ceiling or the roof because I may want to model that later. So I'll just adjust this. And if I review the bottom, that looks pretty good. So from here I can confirm this, and this would be the model that I would then export and bring inside of Revit or AutoCAD or Navisworks. Let's take a look at Navisworks. With Navisworks, I can bring in or append multiple models. Now, as GCs, you probably receive many different models, many different file formats. and you may receive AutoCAD models, both 2D and 3D. You may receive Revit models. You may even receive models from a third-party program. Well, with Navisworks, I can append many different file formats, from 3D Studio, Design Review, to MicroStation, or simple IFC export. And then I also have some point cloud data, like the Leica point cloud. Here's my Revit models. I can bring a Revit model natively into Navisworks. I've gone ahead and I've imported my CAD drawing or my Revit models. And what I want to do is go ahead and do a clash detection. So when I select clash detection, I'm going to hit Add Test. And in these two columns, I have the three models that I brought into my Navisworks project. And I want to go ahead and compare maybe the ductwork with my structural steel. So I'll go ahead and expand my ductwork project. I'll find my ducts. And on the right-hand side, I'll go ahead and select my structural model. I'll compare everything in the structural model. If I want to filter down and just select framing, I can select framing. It's really that simple. If I go ahead and select Run Test, as soon as I do that, immediately it is finding the clashes. And so here's one of my clashes. I can zoom in on it. And notice Navisworks, how it makes the rest of the model transparent so you could easily identify the duct with the steel. This file does not have scans. This question came up if there were scans in this file. This file is Revit models, but I could bring in scan data as well. But this has 3 Revit models. And I can quickly, and I'm just going to compress this a little bit, I can quickly select on the different clashes and review each and every one. I can also generate a report, and during my coordination meetings, these problems can be discussed, and once resolved, I receive an updated model. I can rerun the clash report. All right, so let's go back into our project, or our PowerPoint. Let's talk a little bit about subscription. Maintenance versus desktop, and you're going to hear about this. If you haven't already heard about it, you're going to hear about it more as we get closer and closer to particular deadlines. The new perpetual licenses for individual software products will not be offered for purchase after January 31st. What that means is our perpetual license is what we typically have purchased in the past, where we purchase a license of, let's say, Revit Architecture 2012. And maybe for the small companies, they may not decide to upgrade that software. Well, starting January 31st of 2016, Autodesk will no longer provide individual software products under perpetual license agreement. They'll provide that under a different agreement. But for individual software, it's January 31st. For the suite software, new perpetual licenses will not be offered for purchase after July 31st, 2016, and that's next summer. However, you can continue to renew your maintenance for as long as you want on your existing perpetual licenses. And we could add maintenance subscription to your perpetual license if you don't have it, and then you can get software updates, access to older versions of files, flexible licensing, support, and more. After July 31st, 2016, individual software products and suite software products will be offered as desktop subscription, pay as you go. So let's discuss a few advantages of desktop subscription. Desktop subscription gives you the access to Autodesk software, the same full version you get with perpetual licenses, but with flexible pay-as-you-go approach for a software budget that's easier to manage. So for pay-as-you-go access, whether your projects are temporary or ongoing, you can keep software costs manageable and predictable, and pay only for the access you need without an upfront investment or long-term commitment. Another benefit is the scalable licensing. Companies grow, projects expand, employees don't stay in one place. Be prepared for whatever changes come your way with licenses that scale to meet your organization's needs. And another benefit is the up-to-date software. You can stay competitive with the latest Autodesk technology, get the most up-to-date software release with the level of technical support you need. And finally, with the additional cloud and software services. Additional cloud and software services allow you to work smarter without tying up your desktop. Get access to additional services in the cloud, such as faster rendering and visualization capabilities, collaboration tools, and even secure storage. Now let's just take a look at the different and flexible pay-as-you-go options. The right fit at the right cost. Desktop subscription lets you access Autodesk software on a monthly, quarterly, or annual basis, so you can control your costs and your commitment. With monthly, you access software 1 month at a time for the lowest upfront investment. This is the best option for temporary staff and short-term projects. Quarterly, you get 3 months of access with the option to renew. This is great for startups, freelancers, and shorter commitments. And finally, annual. You can enjoy full year of access, and this is the most cost-effective choice for long-term projects. This is very similar to what we used to do in the past, where we paid a yearly subscription. In this case, with the perpetual license. In this case, with our desktop option, we'll have a yearly access, and if at any time we want to discontinue, we can. All right, so that concludes today's webinar. Any questions on what I've covered?
Yeah, we do have some questions. So the one I asked you earlier about the multi-scan composite, they actually wanted to know the previous recap file. Was that a multi-scan composite?
That demo project, I don't know what that one was because it was a sample project, but I will say that I received files, point clouds from both Faro scanners and TopCon scanners. And now I do have Recap 360 Ultimate, and my Faro job had 8 individual scans. My TopCon job, I had 11 individual scans. When I brought them in for registration, the Faro job took about, I'll say about 12 minutes to finish. The TopCon job, having more scans, took a little bit longer. I think it was maybe about less than 20. I had kind of walked away from my desk, but when they were complete, I had a registered scan, and from there then I just exported out a RCS file, which I then brought into Revit for tracing.
Okay, and also I've got a couple more questions here, but if you do have anything you want to type in the questions bar, we can address those. So the next one, Mark, is it faster to bring point clouds to Recap than Revit versus opening the point clouds in Revit itself?
That's a good question. So I noticed that it takes a little bit longer inside of Revit. And so what I tell people is bring it into Recap first, because then I can take the time and go ahead and get rid of any of the extra points that may be outside of the area that I want. I haven't timed it one for one, but to me it feels like it takes a little bit longer because it still has to go through the process and index all the points. So while it's not necessary, I think it's faster, and I have more control on my points and how many points I want to see.
Okay, what third-party software is available to automatically draw objects from point cloud scans?
Okay, that's a good question. So there are two products that I'm familiar with. One of them is the ClearEdge 3D software. Their software will recognize pipes and ductwork and structural steel. On the Revit side, it'll recognize the structural steel and replace that with a Revit structural member. On the pipe and ductwork side, it'll recognize, but we sometimes have issues with pipe and ductwork might be wrapped in insulation, so we don't know the true size for the existing pipe and ductwork. For that matter, I guess the steel could also have fireproofing. But what I wanted to mention is our team in Florida have figured out a way to calculate the center lines of wrapped pipe and wrapped duct, and then have it automatically generate or trace the center line and place actual pipe and duct in there. So that would be our fabrication team that had figured out a workflow for that. So ClearEdge 3D is one of them, and there's another program out there which I recently spoke to someone at one of our events a couple of weeks ago at BIM and Beer, and it's called Qubit. And I looked at Qubit many years ago, and at that time it was focused on CAD, but now it looks like I can, what I had seen, or this gentleman that I spoke to, and he showed it to me on his laptop, Qubit, when you bring in the point cloud, it also has the image right next to it, and so if I want to trace the point cloud, I can actually click on, let's say, the corners of my wall in the photo, and it knows where the corner of the wall in the photo is in relation to my point cloud. So it seemed like a very good workflow for at least placing walls. I don't know how their MEP side works. I have not seen that.
Okay, and then what is the best resource to turn for Navisworks commands and process? To turn to, sorry. What is the best resource to turn to for Navisworks commands and process?
Okay, so to me that sounds like what we need to do is we can set up a discovery call with you. In my office, I've got some of the best Navisworks guys on my team. They've actually have construction experience, so they've actually worked for contractors and doing a lot of Navisworks. So depending on specifically what you need, I mean, I think the best bet would be for us to set up a discovery call.
Okay, and the cost for scanning service through applied software, and just being on the sales side as opposed to services, I think that also would be best served by discovery call first to see what the scope of that project is. Would you agree, Mark?
Close. What I was going to say was we actually don't provide scanning as a service. However, we do have partners that we've worked with, and we also, one of our partners is GeoShack in Dallas, and they sell TopCon scanners. We are a referral partner for Faro, so we can put you in touch with our contacts both at GeoShack and Faro, and then they could either let you know the services or the equipment, at the very least the equipment if you were to purchase. I will say this, scanning software or scanning hardware, prices come down considerably, but it's actually become very easy to use. So I would not rule out purchasing your own 3D scanner. A really good application on the construction side is maybe during the construction process, before you pour rebar or before you pour concrete, you can scan the rebar. We were just down in Florida with my TopCon dealer, and we were working with Disney, and they wanted to scan their walls prior to them being covered up and making sure that they were in the correct location. So service we don't provide as far as scanning services, but we can provide you, we can put you in contact with the people that can help you with that.
Okay, great. It looks like we have two more at this point. Does applied software support fabrication?
Okay, another great question. So we do have a fabrication team in Dallas. We have acquired the largest fabrication Autodesk reseller. Used to be Inceptia, and it is now Applied Software. So our fabrication team in Dallas, or maybe it's San Antonio if I stand corrected here, they have been doing fabrication. That is their specialty. Just like our specialty in the Atlanta office is construction, their specialty is fabrication. So we do have a fabrication team. Everything going from AutoCAD MEP to fabrication CAD MEP and Revit MEP to fabrication CAD MEP. So we can go to fabrication models both from AutoCAD and Revit.
Okay, and can you do BIM 360 without Building Design Suite?
Okay, so we have we've got a number of videos discussing BIM 360, specific BIM 360 services. You can't do BIM, well, let me rephrase that. There's a couple things you can do, very little things you can do without Building Design Suite, but just a quick recap of BIM 360. First of all, when you hear the term BIM 360, there are a number of different packages related to it or services related to BIM 360. There's BIM 360 Field, there's BIM 360 Glue, there's BIM 360 Layout, BIM 360 Plan. So I have to say that slowly because I have to think through that because a lot of the terminology here. But Glue is dependent on your model. Field, I can actually upload 2D CAD drawings and I can upload 2D PDF files into Field. But where you really gain the power is when those 2D CAD drawings are coming from the Revit model. And I can actually have my 3D model as part of BIM 360 Field. So when I discover an issue, a problem at the job site, I can actually look at the model on my iPad, and if necessary, then I can generate an issue. BIM 360 Layout requires the 3D model. I think that was it. So while not absolutely necessary, you're really limiting yourself if you don't have Building Design Suite Ultimate and utilizing BIM 360 Field.
Okay, and we did have another one come in, and this is a three-part question, so I'll do the first one first so we don't get confused. Okay, so when you refer to auto-registering for point clouds in recap, does this mean that sphere point references are auto-generated and aligned to make the point cloud?
No, that's what it will do is it'll recognize faces or a series of points that are faces, so it'll try and recognize different groups of faces and then align them. It doesn't do anything with spheres. I know some of the, like Faro, when they do scanning, they will scan spheres or targets to help with alignment. If there's targets, it'll use the targets, but I think it uses the targets as well as the surrounding point cloud. So now those spheres that we saw inside of Recap, those are actually where the scanner was set up, and that's where it took photos. So if I go to that sphere, I could stand there and look around, and I'm actually looking at not just the point cloud, but all the photos that were taken from that particular spot.
Sorry, I clicked the wrong button. Okay, so the second question of the three is, are you allowed to specifically assign alignments to those views that don't always align like you can in the Faro scene software?
Yeah, with Recap, it has a function where it'll ask me to pick 3 planes that are common between the 2 scans. And so typically what you'll pick is maybe a floor and then two walls that are perpendicular. And if you can find the same two walls and a floor in both scans, then it'll line it up best it can. And I should mention this as well. It will also generate, you can generate a report to see how well or what the tolerance is when it aligns the scans.
Okay, and that was it. I thought there were 3 questions there, but there were just the 2. So it looks like that is all that we have for questions. If you have one real quick you want to type in, that's great, and we can address that. Otherwise, if you haven't already, search Live Lab Learning on Facebook and like our page to receive the latest information and special offers. And when you visit our website, livelablearning.com, there is a complete schedule of upcoming training and future informational webinars, / tidbits and software updates, and I think we're going to be adding one now called Hangouts. So thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you so much, Mark, and we hope you found this webinar informative and help to your business. And we look forward to you joining our next webinar. We have one called the Fabrication Hangout. These will be a little bit shorter, around 20 minutes. That's on November 18th, and the BIM 360 Hangout on November 24th, and these will be occurring on a monthly basis. So thank you so much and have a great day.